Think anacondas are big? Forget everything you know. In the past, Earth was ruled by one-ton serpents that hunted crocodiles and swallowed elephant ancestors for breakfast. Monsters so thick they'd wrap around an adult's waist. For 15 years, Titanoboa was the undisputed queen, the ultimate giant snake. But in 2024, a discovery in India changed everything. A new titan was unearthed and the queen's crown is at risk. Today on Dino Secrets, we're counting down the 5 largest snakes that ever lived on Earth. If you're brave enough to face these monsters, hit that like button now. And if you're new here, subscribe to join the squad. Let's dive in. We need to rewind our biological clock 40 million years to the late Eocene period. Our destination, northern Africa, specifically Egypt. But forget the pyramids and endless desert sands you see in movies. Eocene Egypt, in what we now call the Fayum Depression, was unrecognizable. It was a complex system of estuaries, tropical swamps, and dense mangroves, more like Vietnam's Mekong Delta or the Amazon than a desert. A green, humid, suffocating, and extremely dangerous paradise. In the murky waters of this river system reigned a serpent that held the world record for largest snake for almost a century after its discovery in 1901 by British paleontologist Charles Andrews. Her name, Gigantophis garstini, the giant serpent of Garston. Modern science has allowed us to reconstruct this monster. The most solid estimates place Gigantophis at 33 feet long, about 20% larger and much heavier than the largest scientifically recorded anaconda in modern history. What makes Gigantophis biologically fascinating is her lineage. She wasn't a boa or python. She belonged to the Matsoidae family, an extinct group of primitive serpents that dominated the southern continents of the supercontinent Gondwana. Unlike modern snakes with extremely flexible skulls that can dislocate their jaws to swallow things much larger than their heads, Matsoids like Gigantophis had less flexible mouths. To eat large prey, they couldn't just open wide and swallow fast. They had to crush their victims until they were compact enough to pass through their throat. And what prey? Egypt at this time was home to Moratherium, a primitive ancestor of modern elephants that looked like a mix between a dwarf hippo and a tapir, weighing about 440 pounds. Gigantophis was the apex predator of this environment. The attack involved no venom, just pure physics. The snake would coil, lock its muscular rings, and exert pressure capable of collapsing the rib cage and stopping the prey's heart in seconds. Generally, we assume giant snakes need firm ground or shallow swamp water to support their massive weight. But evolution loves breaking rules. At number 4, we have a serpent that decided to conquer the most hostile and vast habitat of all, the open sea. Meet Paleophis colossaeus, the leviathan of ancient serpents. This creature also lived during the Eocene, swimming in the waters of the ancient Trans-Saharan Sea, a shallow, warm ocean that covered half of West Africa, connecting the Atlantic to the Mediterranean. The name colossaeus isn't scientific hyperbole. The vertebrae found in Mali are so massive that the most aggressive estimates suggest this animal could exceed 33 feet and reach an impressive 40 feet in length. But she didn't look like a boa swimming at the surface with her head sticking out. Paleophis's anatomy was radically adapted for pelagic life in the open sea. Due to her colossal volume, she could retain metabolic heat much more efficiently than a small animal, allowing her to be an active, fast predator rather than a slow, lethargic animal. She shared the oceans with the first primitive whales and large sharks. It's not science fiction to imagine naval battles between a 40-foot Paleophis and ancient sharks. Unlike terrestrial snakes that kill by constriction, Paleophis probably used hunting tactics similar to modern sea snakes but on an industrial scale. Quick attacks to bite and hold, using her long body to maneuver where sharks and whales couldn't turn, causing massive damage. If you have thalassophobia, fear of the ocean, thank extinction. Let's go back even further in time, leaving the age of mammals and jumping to the late Cretaceous period about 70 million years ago. The world still belonged to dinosaurs. To survive and thrive in the land of giants, a snake needed to be armored and brutal. Matsoidae was that survivor. Her fossils were found scattered across the ancient supercontinent of Gondwana, with important finds in South America, Africa, and Madagascar. Projections place her in the range of 26 to 30 feet long. In biology, size isn't just linear length, it's robustness and mass. Matsoidae earns her place on the podium through musculature and ecological audacity. Matsoidae's vertebrae are thick, with large bony processes indicating extremely powerful muscle insertion points. She was a crawling war tank, and we have shocking behavioral evidence from her family. In 2010 in India, paleontologists found an extraordinary fossil of a close relative, Sanija. The fossil captured a moment frozen in time. The snake was fossilized inside a sauropod dinosaur nest, coiled around a broken egg, ready to devour the baby titanosaur hatching at that exact moment when a mudslide buried them both. If the smaller relative did this, giant Matsoya was probably the terror of Cretaceous nurseries. She represents the peak of snakes in the Mesozoic era. She proved snakes didn't need to wait for dinosaurs to die to become giants. They were already there, eating the offspring of kings. Quick question: where would you have a better chance of surviving? In the open sea fleeing the sea snake, or in the dinosaur nest fleeing Matsoya? Comment sea or nest below. Let's see who's the bravest, or craziest, on the channel. We've reached the legend, the animal that redefined what it means to be a monster in popular culture and science. Titanoboa's numbers are hard to process. Estimated size, 42 to 47 feet long, the length of a long executive bus. Weight, about 2,500 pounds, yes, over a ton of serpent. Thickness, at the widest point she had the diameter of a tractor tire, reaching an adult man's waist. Titanoboa was an animal from the Boidae family, the same as boas and anacondas, but on a steroid scale. She was so heavy that locomotion on firm ground would be energetically costly and slow. Science confirms she was predominantly aquatic, living in the dark water of swamps like a giant, immortal anaconda. And what does a 1-ton snake eat? The Sarajan ecosystem was inhabited by giant turtles and crocodilians that reached 20 feet. Titanoboa was the predator of these crocodiles. The attack was a kinetic explosion. The constriction pressure exerted by Titanoboa is estimated at 400 pounds per square inch. Many movies show Titanoboa spitting venom, but that's a myth. In biology, the larger the snake, the less it needs venom. She was pure brute force. For 15 years since its official description, she was the undisputed champion. It seemed impossible that biology would allow anything larger on land. Until April 2024. Researchers from the Indian Institute of Technology, they recovered 27 preserved vertebrae of a colossal serpent from the Middle Eocene 47 million years ago. They named it Vasuki indicus. But how does it compare to Titanoboa? Let's look at the cold data. Vasuki belonged to the Matsoidae family, meaning its anatomy was fundamentally different from Titanoboa. Vasuki's vertebrae are extremely wide and robust. Using mathematical regression equations based on the width of these vertebrae, which reach 4.3 inches wide in just the bone, scientists estimated Vasuki's size between 36 feet in a conservative scenario and an impressive 50 feet in the maximum scenario. If the upper estimate is correct, Vasuki indicus is officially the longest snake that ever existed on Earth, surpassing Titanoboa by at least 3 feet in length. Vasuki was a hunter of infinite patience. She'd find a spot in the forest, camouflage herself, and wait for days, maybe weeks. When something big passed, she attacked with a devastating strike. So who's the true queen? If the fight is sumo weight, Titanoboa probably keeps the belt. If the fight is who occupied more space on the ground, Vasuki took the throne in 2024. Either way, we're talking about animals that would make the modern anaconda look like a harmless garden worm. The discovery of Vasuki indicus and the confirmation of Titanoboa teach us a fundamental lesson about the history of life on Earth. Climate is the master of monsters. These colossal beasts, Titanoboa, Vasuki, Paleophis, only existed because the planet's thermostat was on maximum. Today, snakes are physically limited to the 23 feet of the anaconda and reticulated python, but they're just shadows of the scaled gods that once ruled Earth. But this leaves us with a final unsettling reflection. We're living in a new era of global warming. If temperatures continue rising in the coming centuries and millennia, will new Titanoboas return to slither through the flooded forests of a superheated world in a distant future? Biology says it's possible. Time will tell.